The morning sun cast long shadows across the weapons maintenance facility at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. Commander Jake Mitchell walked through the armory with the familiar weight of responsibility on his shoulders. 22 years in the Navy SEALs had taught him to notice everything, to read situations others might miss. Today, something caught his attention that would change everything he thought he knew about exceptional marksmanship. The sound of precise, methodical cleaning echoed from the far corner of the facility. Mitchell paused, listening to the rhythm of someone who clearly knew their way around a weapon. What surprised him was the location of the sound. The Barrett M82 A 1.50 caliber rifles were kept in the restricted section, accessible only to the most qualified personnel. As he rounded the corner, Mitchell stopped in his tracks. A young woman in Navy utilities sat cross-legged on the floor, completely absorbed in field stripping and cleaning one of the massive Barrett rifles. Her movements were fluid, professional, almost artistic in their precision. Each component was laid out in perfect order on a clean cloth, and she worked with the kind of confidence that came from thousands of hours of practice. Sarah Chen looked up as she sensed his presence. Her dark eyes met his without a trace of nervousness or surprise. She was small in stature, maybe 5 feet 4 inches, with calloused hands that spoke of serious training. Her black hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and there was something in her expression that reminded Mitchell of his most experienced snipers. "Ma'am," Mitchell said, his voice carrying the authority of his rank, but also curiosity. "That's a restricted weapon system." Sarah set down the bolt carrier group she'd been cleaning and stood at attention. "Yes, sir. Petty Officer Second Class Sarah Chun. I have authorization from Master Chief Rodriguez for familiarization training on all precision rifle systems in inventory." Mitchell raised an eyebrow. He knew Rodriguez well, and the Master Chief didn't hand out authorizations lightly, especially for the Barrett. The .50 caliber rifle was a specialized tool that required extensive training to use effectively. It wasn't something you gave to just anyone for familiarization. "How long have you been working with the Barrett, Petty Officer Chun?" 3 years intensive training, sir. 2 years before that on the M24 and M110 systems. Sarah's voice was steady, professional. "I've logged approximately 8,000 rounds through various Barrett platforms." 8,000 rounds. Mitchell did the quick math in his head. That represented serious commitment and significant resources. The .50 caliber ammunition alone would cost a small fortune. Someone had invested heavily in this young sailor's training. "What's your primary rating, Chun?" "Operations Specialist, sir. But I've completed additional training as a designated marksman and precision rifle instructor." Mitchell studied her more carefully. Operations specialists typically worked with radar and communications, not sniper rifles. There was clearly more to Petty Officer Chen's story than her rate suggested. "Where did you complete your precision rifle training?" "Multiple locations, sir. Initial training at Marine Corps Base Quantico, advanced courses at the Army Marksmanship Unit, and specialized long-range instruction at private facilities in Montana and Wyoming." The more she spoke, the more intrigued Mitchell became. The Army Marksmanship Unit was elite-level training. Private facilities in Montana and Wyoming suggested civilian competitive shooting at the highest levels. This wasn't standard Navy training progression. "Chun, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. What's the longest confirmed shot you've made?" Sarah hesitated for just a moment, and Mitchell caught something in her expression. It wasn't uncertainty about the answer. It was the look of someone deciding how much truth to reveal. 3,247 meters, sir. Confirmed by multiple observers with range-finding equipment. Mitchell felt his pulse quicken. 3,247 meters. That was over 2 miles. It was beyond the range most people considered possible with current technology. It would place her among the top long-range shooters in the world. When and where? 18 months ago, sir. Private range in Montana during a precision rifle competition. The target was a standard IPSC silhouette, and conditions were nearly perfect. Light winds, stable temperature, excellent visibility. Mitchell's mind raced. He'd heard rumors about a civilian competition where someone had made an impossible shot. The story had circulated through special operations circles like legend. Most people assumed it was exaggerated or fabricated. Standing here looking at this unassuming petty officer, He was beginning to think the stories might be true. Who witnessed this shot? Approximately 40 competitors and officials, sir. Video documentation exists. The shot broke the previous civilian record by over 400 meters. And you're currently assigned to administrative duties on base. It wasn't a question. Mitchell knew the absurdity of having someone with these skills filing paperwork and managing communication schedules. It was like having Mozart play elevator music. Yes, sir. My current assignment doesn't require precision rifle skills. The understatement hung in the air between them. Mitchell made a decision that would ripple through both their lives. Chun, I want you to demonstrate your capabilities. Tomorrow, 0800 hours, range 7. Bring whatever equipment you need. Sir, I should mention that my personal equipment is significantly different from standard issue. Explain. Sarah walked over to a long case that Mitchell hadn't noticed earlier. She opened it to reveal a rifle that looked like it had been crafted by master gunsmiths and precision engineers working together. The stock was custom carbon fiber, the barrel was obviously hand-selected and precisely fitted, and the scope was a piece of optical equipment that probably cost more than most people's cars. Custom Barrett M107A1 variant, sir. Macmillan stock, Bartline barrel, Schmidt and Binder scope with custom turrets calibrated for my specific ammunition loads. The rifle weighs 31 pounds fully loaded. Mitchell examined the rifle without touching it. Every component screamed precision and performance. This wasn't military-issue equipment. This was the kind of setup that serious competitive shooters and military contractors used when accuracy was literally life and death. How did you acquire this equipment? Personal funds and sponsorship, sir. I competed professionally before enlisting. Prize money and equipment sponsorships allowed me to build this system. You competed professionally. Yes, sir. Precision Rifle Series, King of 2 Miles competitions, various international long-range events. I was ranked 3rd nationally in the women's division when I enlisted. Mitchell was beginning to understand that he'd stumbled upon something extraordinary. The Navy had somehow ended up with a world-class precision shooter who was currently assigned to clerical duties. It was like discovering a Formula One driver working as a parking lot attendant. Chun, tomorrow's demonstration isn't just about showing your skills. I want to understand how someone with your capabilities ended up in administrative assignment. Sir, when I enlisted, my recruiter emphasized that the Navy would utilize my specialized skills. The reality has been somewhat different. There was no bitterness in her voice, just a statement of fact. Mitchell had seen talented people underutilized by bureaucratic systems before, but this was extreme. What's your ultimate goal in the Navy? Sarah's posture straightened even more. To serve in whatever capacity makes the best use of my skills, sir. If that's administrative work, I'll excel at it. But if there's opportunity to contribute more directly to operational success, that's where I'd prefer to be. Mitchell nodded slowly. He was already forming plans, thinking about how someone with Chin's capabilities could fit into special operations missions. The SEALs occasionally needed precision shooters for specialized tasks. Having someone who could reliably engage targets at extreme range opened up tactical possibilities that didn't exist with standard marksmen. Chun, I need to ask about your security clearance. Secret clearance, sir. Current and up to date. Any issues in your background investigation? No, sir. Clean record. No financial problems. No foreign entanglements. Mitchell made his final decision. Tomorrow's demonstration is going to determine your next assignment. I want you to understand that if you perform as well as your record suggests, your role in the Navy is going to change significantly. I understand, sir. One more question. Why the Navy instead of Marines or Army? With your shooting background, either service would have fast-tracked you into sniper programs. Sarah smiled for the first time since their conversation began. My father was Navy, sir. Submarine service for 24 years. I grew up believing that the Navy represented the highest standards of professionalism and technical excellence. When I decided to serve, there was never any question which branch I'd choose. Mitchell found himself impressed not just by her skills, but by her character. Loyalty, professionalism, and dedication to excellence were exactly the qualities he looked for in his team members. Tomorrow, Chun. 0800. Be prepared to change your career. As Mitchell walked away, his mind was already working on the implications. If Chun could perform at the level her record suggested, She would become a valuable asset for special operations. More than that, she might represent a new capability that could give his teams significant tactical advantages. Range 7 stretched across a valley that extended far beyond what most people considered practical shooting distance. Commander Mitchell arrived at 0730 to find Sarah Chin already there, methodically setting up her equipment with the kind of systematic precision he associated with his best operators. Her setup was impressive in its completeness. A custom shooting mat, tripod-mounted spotting scope, electronic weather station, ballistic computer, and ammunition that looked hand-loaded to precise specifications. Everything was arranged with military efficiency and competitive shooter attention to detail. "Good morning, Petty Officer Chun." "Good morning, sir." Sarah stood at attention beside her equipment. Mitchell had brought Master Chief Rodriguez and Lieutenant Commander Sarah Walsh, his operations officer. He wanted witnesses for what was about to happen, especially if it was as extraordinary as Chin's record suggested. "I've arranged for some challenging shots today," Mitchell said, gesturing toward the range. "We'll start at 800 meters and work outward. The furthest target is positioned at 2,800 meters. Sarah nodded, accepting the challenge without comment. 2,800 meters was nearly 1.75 miles. In perfect conditions with ideal equipment, it was achievable for world-class shooters. Today's conditions were good, but not perfect, with variable winds and morning thermal currents that would complicate trajectory calculations. "Before we begin," Mitchell continued, "I want to understand your process. Walk me through how you approach an extreme-range shot." Sarah moved to her equipment with fluid professionalism. "First, environmental assessment, sir." She checked her weather station and made notations in a data book. Wind speed and direction at multiple points along the trajectory, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and angle of fire. She pointed to her spotting scope. Visual assessment of mirage patterns and terrain features that might affect wind flow. Observation of vegetation movement at various distances to identify wind changes. Moving to her ballistic computer, she continued. Input of environmental data and calculation of firing solution based on ammunition specifications, rifle characteristics, and target distance. She showed them the device, which looked like a sophisticated smartphone running specialized software. Finally, physical preparation and shot execution. Proper body position, natural point of aim, breathing pattern, and trigger control. Mitchell was impressed by the systematic approach. This wasn't someone who relied on luck or natural talent alone. Chin approached extreme-range shooting like an engineering problem requiring precise inputs to achieve predictable outputs. "Show us your 800-meter shot first." Sarah settled into position behind her Barrett with practiced efficiency. Her breathing steadied, and she spent several minutes observing wind conditions through her scope. The target was a standard silhouette that looked impossibly small at that distance. The Barrett's report was tremendous, echoing across the valley like thunder. Through his spotting scope, Mitchell watched the target react to a center mass hit. "Time from first sight picture to shot?" Rodriguez asked. "Approximately 4 minutes, Master Chief. That included final wind assessment and range confirmation." Walsh lowered her binoculars. "Most shooters I've seen take considerably longer for shots at that range. Experience allows faster environmental assessment, ma'am. When you've shot in hundreds of different conditions, you learn to read environmental factors more quickly." Mitchell was already impressed, but the real test lay ahead. 1,200 meters. The process repeated with minor adjustments for increased range. Sarah's movements remained calm and methodical. She made small corrections to her scope settings and rechecked her data book before settling into the shooting position. The second shot was equally precise, striking the 1,200-meter target in the scoring ring. Mitchell noted that Chin's confidence seemed to increase with distance rather than decrease. Most shooters became more tentative as range increased. She appeared to become more focused and deliberate. 1,800 meters. At this distance, the target was barely visible to the naked eye. Sarah spent additional time with her spotting scope, studying wind patterns and making detailed calculations on her ballistic computer. She made several scope adjustments based on her computations. When the shot broke, the sound seemed to hang in the air for an eternity before the distant impact was confirmed. Another center mass hit. Rodriguez whistled softly. that's getting into truly impressive territory. 2,400 meters, Chun. Sarah paused in her preparations and looked at Mitchell. Sir, at this range, success depends significantly on ammunition consistency and environmental stability. I loaded these rounds specifically for this rifle, but there are variables beyond my control. Understood. Do your best. The preparation for the 2,400-meter shot took nearly 10 minutes. Sarah made multiple wind assessments, checked and rechecked her calculations, and adjusted her scope settings several times. Mitchell watched her work with growing respect for her professionalism and attention to detail. When she finally settled into the shooting position, her breathing pattern became deeply controlled. She spent several minutes achieving perfect stability before beginning her trigger sequence. The Barrett roared, and everyone immediately moved to their optics to observe the target. At 2,400 meters, impact assessment required high-powered spotting scopes and considerable patience. Hit, Walsh called out. Slightly left of center, but definitely within the scoring zone. Mitchell felt a surge of excitement. He'd just witnessed shooting that ranked among the best he'd ever seen, and they hadn't reached Chin's claimed maximum range yet. 2,800 meters. This is the furthest target we have available. Sarah's demeanor shifted slightly. This was approaching the range where her record shot had been made. Her preparations became even more meticulous, involving multiple weather assessments and extended observation of wind patterns throughout the valley. Sir, at this range, I need to account for Coriolis effect, spin drift, and atmospheric density variations. The calculations become significantly more complex. She worked with her ballistic computer for several minutes, inputting data and studying the solutions it provided. Multiple scope adjustments followed, each made with careful reference to her data book. The shooting position she assumed was textbook perfect. Every point of contact with the ground was optimized for stability. Her breathing pattern was so controlled it was barely perceptible. When the shot broke, Mitchell found himself holding his breath despite himself. At 2,800 meters, the bullet would be in flight for several seconds. Sound traveled much faster than the projectile, so they heard the rifle's report long before impact occurred. The wait seemed eternal. Then, Walsh's voice cut through the tension. Direct hit. Center mass. The silence that followed was profound. Mitchell, Rodriguez, and Walsh stood looking at each other, processing what they'd just witnessed. Sarah had made 4 consecutive hits at extreme range, culminating in a precision shot that few people in the world could achieve. Sarah began the systematic process of clearing her rifle and securing her equipment. Her expression remained calm and professional, as if extraordinary marksmanship was routine. Chun, Mitchell said finally, I need to understand the full scope of your capabilities. What you've demonstrated today is exceptional, but your service record suggests there's more. Sarah paused in her equipment breakdown. Sir, what you've seen represents standard precision shooting under controlled conditions. Operational shooting involves additional complexities, such as moving targets, multiple targets, time pressure, environmental extremes, and shooting from unconventional positions. Combat marksmanship requires adaptation to situations that don't exist on training ranges. Rodriguez stepped forward. You have combat experience? No, Master Chief. But I've trained extensively for operational scenarios. Competition shooting and military application required different skill sets. Mitchell was beginning to formulate plans. Chin's demonstrated capabilities opened tactical possibilities he hadn't previously considered. Having a precision shooter who could reliably engage targets at extreme range would provide significant advantages in certain missions. Chun, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. If you were supporting a SEAL team operation that required precision shooting in challenging conditions, what kind of support could you provide? Sarah considered the question carefully. Depends on the specific requirements, sir. Overwatch and protection of team movements, elimination of specific high-value targets, suppression of enemy positions, and intelligence gathering through advanced optics. Maximum effective range in operational conditions? Conservatively, 2,500 meters for high-probability shots on point targets. Under ideal conditions with proper preparation, potentially 3,000 meters or more. The implications were staggering. Standard military sniper doctrine considered 800 to 1,000 meters long-range shooting. Chun was discussing capabilities that extended far beyond normal tactical parameters. What kind of specialized equipment would you require for operational deployment? The rifle system you've seen today, plus additional accessories depending on mission requirements. Specialized ammunition, advanced optics, laser range-finding equipment, and environmental monitoring tools. Walsh interjected, the equipment you're describing represents a significant investment. Is it cost-effective compared to alternative solutions? Sarah nodded. The initial equipment cost is substantial, but the capability it provides can't be replicated through other means. Some tactical situations require precision engagement at extreme range. When those situations arise, having the right equipment is essential. Mitchell made his decision. Chun, I'm recommending you for immediate transfer to Special Operations Support. Your current assignment isn't utilizing your capabilities effectively. Sir, I appreciate the opportunity, but I want to ensure I understand the expectations. Special operations work involves high-stress environments and life-or-death decisions. Are you expressing doubt about your readiness for that level of responsibility? No, sir. I'm confirming my understanding of the commitment involved. If I'm going to support operators whose lives depend on my performance, I want to ensure I can meet that standard. Mitchell found himself even more impressed by her response. Chun wasn't just technically competent. She understood the weight of responsibility that came with her capabilities. The transfer process will take some time, he continued. In the mean 3 weeks after the range demonstration, Sarah Chun found herself in a classified briefing room at Naval Special Warfare Command Headquarters. The rapid processing of her transfer had surprised everyone, including herself. Apparently, when a SEAL commander requested immediate reassignment of personnel with unique capabilities, the bureaucratic machinery moved with unusual speed. Commander Mitchell sat at the head of the conference table, flanked by Lieutenant Commander Walsh and Master Chief Rodriguez. 2 other operators she didn't recognize completed the group. The atmosphere was professional but intense, with the kind of focused energy that preceded serious missions. Gentlemen, meet Petty Officer First Class Sarah Chun. Her promotion had come through the previous week, another indication that her situation had attracted high-level attention. Chun is our new precision shooting specialist. Her capabilities extend significantly beyond standard sniper doctrine. One of the unfamiliar operators, a weathered chief petty officer with intelligent eyes, studied her carefully. Ma'am, I'm Chief Morrison, Team Sniper. I understand you've got some impressive range qualifications. Sarah nodded respectfully. Chief Morrison, I've heard excellent things about your operational record. Morrison's expression showed approval of her response. In the special operations community, reputation mattered, and mutual respect was earned through performance, not rank. Chun, Mitchell continued, we have a situation that may require your specialized skills. The briefing you're about to receive is classified secret. Are you prepared to receive operational intelligence? Yes, sir. Walsh activated a secure display screen showing satellite imagery of a mountainous region. 3 days ago, a Navy helicopter carrying critical intelligence materials made an emergency landing in hostile territory. The crew is alive, but surrounded by enemy forces in terrain that makes conventional rescue extremely difficult. The imagery showed a narrow valley surrounded by steep mountains. Sarah could immediately see the tactical challenges. Limited approach routes, excellent defensive positions for enemy forces, and terrain that would make close air support problematic. The helicopter is located here. Mitchell pointed to a specific location on the map. Intelligence indicates enemy forces have established positions on the surrounding ridges at ranges between 1,500 and 3,000 meters from the crash site. Sarah studied the topography carefully. Sir, those are extreme engagement ranges even for specialized equipment. What's the expected weather and environmental conditions? High altitude, variable winds, temperatures near freezing. Visibility is generally good, but mountain conditions can change rapidly. Morrison leaned forward. Ma'am, the mission profile we're considering would require you to provide overwatch and precision fire support from distances that exceed normal operational parameters. Are you confident in your ability to perform effectively under these conditions? Sarah met his gaze directly. Chief, I won't make promises about situations I haven't experienced. What I can tell you is that my training and equipment are designed for exactly these circumstances. If the mission requires precision shooting at extreme range and challenging conditions, I'm prepared to attempt it. Her honest assessment seemed to satisfy Morrison. In the special operations world, humility combined with confidence was valued more than empty bravado. The tactical situation, Walsh continued, requires elimination of enemy observation posts and firing positions before the rescue helicopter can approach safely. Conventional air support would alert every hostile force in the region and potentially endanger the survivors. Mitchell pulled up detailed reconnaissance imagery. Intelligence has identified 6 specific positions that must be neutralized. Ranges vary from 1,800 to 2,800 meters. Some positions are partially concealed, requiring precise shot placement. Sarah examined each target location carefully. The tactical challenge was significant, but not impossible. Her Montana competition experience included similar terrain and comparable distances. The difference was that competition shooting didn't involve people shooting back. Sir, I'll need detailed environmental data for the target area, including historical weather patterns and terrain analysis. Also, I'll require specific intelligence about enemy equipment and personnel. Intelligence assets are working on comprehensive environmental assessments. What equipment requirements do you have? Sarah had been thinking about this since learning about the mission. My standard rifle system, plus additional specialized ammunition. I'll need a reliable spotter with advanced optics, laser range-finding equipment, and real-time weather monitoring capability. Morrison nodded. I'll serve as your spotter. I've got experience with extreme range observation and target identification. The partnership made tactical sense. Morrison had operational experience and combat-proven skills. Sarah brought specialized long-range capabilities that complemented his expertise. Timeline for mission execution? Sarah asked. 48 hours maximum, Mitchell replied. Weather conditions are expected to deteriorate after that point, making helicopter operations impossible. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. People's lives depended on her ability to perform under pressure at distances most people considered impossible. The technical challenge was manageable. The psychological pressure was something she'd have to handle in real time. I need range time with Chief Morrison to establish communication procedures and coordination protocols. We also need to zero my rifle for the specific ammunition I'll be using. Range time is scheduled for this afternoon, Rodriguez confirmed. We'll also run through mission rehearsals using terrain mock-ups based on satellite imagery. Over the following day and half, Sarah immersed herself in mission preparation with an intensity she'd never experienced. Every aspect of the operation was rehearsed repeatedly until responses became automatic. She and Morrison developed a communication system that allowed precise target identification and engagement coordination. The range training revealed that Morrison was an exceptional spotter with instinctive understanding of long-range shooting requirements. His ability to read environmental conditions and provide accurate range and wind corrections matched her technical shooting skills perfectly. Chun, Morrison said during one training session, I've worked with some outstanding snipers, but your consistency at extreme range is something I've never seen before. The question is how you'll perform when people are depending on you and the environment isn't controlled. Chief, I understand the pressure. Competition shooting has taught me to perform under stress, but I know this is different. All I can promise is that I'll give everything I have to mission success. The evening before mission departure, Mitchell called Sarah to his office for a private conversation. Chun, I want you to understand that this mission represents a test not just of your shooting skills, but of your ability to function as part of a special operations team. Success here could lead to permanent assignment to specialized precision shooting roles. Sarah nodded. Sir, I appreciate the opportunity, and I understand the stakes. There's something else, Mitchell continued. Intelligence has confirmed that at least one of the enemy positions includes a trained sniper with equipment capable of engaging our forces at long range. This won't be one-sided shooting. The information added another layer of complexity to the mission. Sarah would be engaging trained opponents who possessed equipment and skills similar to her own. It became a test not just of marksmanship, but of tactical thinking and psychological resilience. Sir, does intelligence indicate the specific equipment and capabilities of enemy snipers? Preliminary assessment suggests they have modern precision rifles and quality optics. Assume they're competent until proven otherwise. Sarah spent the evening reviewing satellite imagery and weather data, memorizing every detail of the terrain where she would operate. Each enemy position was analyzed for approach angles, engagement windows, and escape routes. The mental preparation was as important as the physical equipment. Mission departure was scheduled for 0400 hours. Sarah arrived at the helicopter pad early, methodically checking her equipment one final time. Her Barrett rifle was secured in a protective case along with 200 rounds of hand-loaded ammunition. Additional equipment included advanced weather monitoring tools, laser rangefinder, and backup optical systems. Morrison approached carrying his own specialized gear. "Ready for this, Chun?" "As ready as training can make me, Chief." The helicopter flight to the operational area took 3 hours through mountainous terrain that looked increasingly hostile as they approached the target zone. Sarah used the flight time to review mission details and visualize the shooting sequences she would execute. As the helicopter approached the landing zone, Sarah could see the crashed aircraft in the distance, surrounded by the mountainous terrain where enemy forces waited. Within hours, she would discover whether years of training and natural ability could translate into operational success when lives hung in the balance. The helicopter touched down on a rocky plateau that provided concealment and tactical advantage. As Sarah and Morrison prepared to move to their shooting positions, she felt the familiar calm that came before competition. The difference was that today, missing meant people might die. "Time to see what you can do, Chun," Morrison said quietly. Sarah shouldered her rifle case and followed him toward the position where she would either prove her worth or fail when it mattered most. The mountains ahead held both enemy forces and the ultimate test of everything she'd worked to achieve. The mission that would define her career was about to begin. "Time, I want you to begin advanced tactical training. Master Chief Rodriguez will coordinate with you on a specialized curriculum." Rodriguez nodded. "We'll cover operational procedures, team integration, communications protocols, and scenario-based training." As they prepared to leave the range, Mitchell reflected on the morning's events. He'd come expecting to evaluate an overrated operations specialist. Instead, he'd discovered a precision shooter whose capabilities exceeded anything he'd previously encountered. Sarah finished securing her equipment and stood at attention. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. Thank you for providing this opportunity. I've been hoping for a chance to contribute more meaningfully to operational success." Mitchell smiled. "Chun, I think you're about to get more opportunity than you bargained for." Sarah watched the commander leave, then returned to cleaning her Barrett. She'd been waiting 18 months for an opportunity like this. Tomorrow, she would finally have the chance to show what she could really do. The afternoon sun streamed through the armory windows as Sarah methodically reassembled her rifle. Each component clicked into place with precision born of countless repetitions. She thought about the path that had brought her here, from a childhood spent on shooting ranges with her father to international competitions, and, finally, to this moment where her true capabilities might finally be recognized. Tomorrow would determine whether she remained an underutilized operations specialist or became something more. She was ready for either outcome, but she hoped for the chance to truly serve.